Hello and welcome to the Encouraging Word Show. I'm Jamila Freelain, your host, and it is a treat to have you watching. Now today, as every other day that we do the broadcast, we have something special for you, and tonight is no exception. Now, for those of you who are just watching the show for the first time, the Encouraging Word Show is a show that's meant to celebrate students and parents. And really, watching the show, we want you to be inspired. We want you to be more empowered with college and career preparation tips, and last but not least, we certainly want to provide financial literacy information and just tips on how to reduce things like college debt. And so I'm always thinking of creative people to have on the show just to share with you and give you insights on different ways that you can go about the college and career preparation process and be much more strategic and intentional as well. Now, my special guest for today is someone that's near and dear to me. Her name is Angie Hodges. She is a mompreneur. She is an author, and she is just an overall phenomenal person. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Jamila, for having me. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Well, it's definitely a pleasure, and what we want to do is to jump right in. Now, you may see right there on the screen, there's a book that Angie just recently co-authored, and she is a person who's so inspiring and so motivating. So, Angie, can you tell us a little bit about your portion of the book and how that particular project came about?
Yes, it was a great experience. It is a project called Live Your Best Life, Answer the Call. And it is a book that has myself along with 9 other authors. And each of us is sharing our stories of triumph, our stories of courage, and how we overcame various situations. Okay. There's someone in this book that everyone watching tonight can identify with.
And this is the book, right?
Yes.
So Live Your Best Life. You can't get a better title than that.
Yes, Live Your Best Life.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And then I see you brought a CD here too.
Yes, there's also a CD that is a compilation. It's an interview along with just tidbits of motivational words to encourage people. A great listen to on your way to work. Nice stocking stuffer.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow. Yeah, sometimes people don't have time to read. And so someone who is maybe thinking about returning to school, whether it's an adult or someone who's thinking about, what their maybe career path should be if they're later on in high school, they could maybe learn from this. Would that give them some inspiration?
Yes, definitely, because, I was one of those people. I started off going to college right after high school, and then life happened.
Right.
So I took that break, and there was a point in my life when I decided that I needed to go back to live my best life.
Okay.
And to accomplish some dreams and goals. So yes, this would definitely be a great inspirational tool for anyone that's considering returning back or that is already even in school.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Definitely, definitely. Now, in addition to this, because I know you're a busy mom and you have this, you're just a very career-oriented woman, and of course your kids keep you busy, that sort of thing. In addition to writing the book, I know you've expanded and done a lot of things on your own. One of the things we've just talked about recently, of course, I know you do a lot of workshops and seminars to help students and parents, but you also have just recently embarked on doing a lot of vision board parties and that sort of thing. What does that consist of for those people who are not familiar? That's something that's become really, really popular lately. Tell us more about that.
Well, yes, the vision boards were mostly inspired by the law of attraction, the videos and everything that came out years ago.
Okay.
And literally in about 2008, I was at a point in my life where I really wasn't for sure what I wanted to do. Wasn't really for sure who I was. I was at the point of a divorce, and I really needed to figure out where do I go next. But my entire life was based upon what was going on with my children, what was going on with my husband, and I had really lost touch with what Angie wanted. And there comes a time in many of our lives that we have a catalyst. My catalyst was my divorce, but for some people it might be you become an empty nester, or maybe you are embarking on your college journey, or maybe there's an illness in your family. But many times we'll come across some type of catalyst that has us to redefine our lives, and that was my divorce. And I used vision boards because just being a mother, I'm a mother of 4 kids, it's like I'm just doing the things that I need to do. So vision boards gave me permission to dream, to begin to dream, what do I want to do? Who do I want to become? And I started having workshops. I would do them at home. I'm putting all these pictures. My kids think I'm crazy, but
well, what teenager doesn't think their mom is crazy? I mean, really, seriously.
And then after a point, they started seeing, okay, well, she's doing some of the things that she has on those boards.
Right. Maybe there's something to this. Mama ain't totally crazy. Maybe, at least not today. But.
So yeah, they're watching and they're like, okay. And then I would have them join me.
Okay.
I would have them. We're all going to get on the floor. We're going to do our boards and put them together. Wow. And it started to catch on. My friends, family members would see this. She has all these vision boards. And so eventually I started to have workshops in my home.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And you made it a family activity too, right?
Yes, a great family activity, because in many homes, even our children don't get that. They need that. They need that permission and that encouragement to dream, so that they can see all of the possibilities of what they can become and who they can become.
Very true. Very true.
Yes.
So this was a way for you to do kind of a family activity, and it sort of evolved out of that.
Yes.
Wow. That's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is. And then it got to the point that people were asking me, well, when are you going to have your next workshop? And then it was
that's when you know you're onto something.
Come on over and do it. Then it's like, it got to the point that people keep asking me to do these for free. Maybe it's some value that I should embark on it and add to my business. Now, I'm a motivational speaker, so to me, this was a great fit, because with the motivational speaking, I'm encouraging people to go after their dreams.
Of course.
But now with the vision boards, I'm also presenting them with tools to make that happen.
Okay. So it's definitely been a resource and a tool for you to use, not just for whatever goals that you've set, but also then for your family. Now, with doing that, did you have each child create a vision board for themselves, or was there a vision board for the family, like we want to move into a new house or something like that? How was that done?
Yes, each child has their own vision board, but then where I have evolved to now is the family boards. And I've taken this to another place, to also couples. As husband and wives, you can have your own individual goals, but I think that it's great to have goals as a couple. And I also host workshop for couples, and then as a family. And I've went even into nonprofits, and I thought teenage boys would be the most uninterested people in my vision board.
No.
But I went into a nonprofit with teenage boys, and they loved it.
I could picture that. I could envision that. I think for most, and just speaking of like the teenagers that I've worked with in the law, oftentimes they're boys, but I think a lot of times they don't get addressed. We socialize girls. We allow them to cry and share their feelings and their goals, but a lot of times we don't do that with our boys. So I'm not at all surprised that they were receptive to that. That's really good. That's cool.
Yeah, they really were. And then that's how the family workshop evolved, because when the boys were bringing them back to their homes and their parents were seeing how enthusiastic they were about it.
And it's hard to get a teenager enthused about anything, so you knew you were onto something then.
Yes, and then that's how some of the parents started saying, we'd like to do this too, and they asked, could I put together a curriculum for the family as well?
Okay, that's incredible. That's definitely great. Now, tell me a little bit more about, maybe give me some examples of goals a person might put on their vision board, and what that might look like if they were trying to, let's say, shoot for their top school, or if they had maybe a certain major in mind. What kinds of things would you put on a vision board? Like, I know what a vision board is. For somebody that's watching, though, for the first time, they may be totally unfamiliar with what the devil we're talking about.
That's true. And you know what? The one thing is I encourage people in the workshops is it's a place of non-judgment. So your goals and what it is that you have on your board might look completely different from someone else.
Okay.
But I like what you just said when you said if they wanted to shoot for a certain school, what type of things would they put on there?
Yeah.
Because that's where I've evolved to now. Not only a vision board, but I also do action steps.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because some people they were leaving thinking, I'm going to put all these things on the board, and then by osmosis, this is going to happen. Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't, and so I had to take it to a place, because even with myself, I have about 7 boards. And it was like, well, what's going on?
For 1 year?
No, this is over a period of time.
Oh, okay. Some of the stuff on the board we missed. I'm just gonna say. Okay.
Yeah, and so it was like, what's happening? The boards aren't working anymore. No,
okay.
it wasn't the boards that wasn't working. It was I that wasn't working.
Because the focus was shifted. Is that what it was?
Because I through research discovered that people need to have those steps in there.
Yes,
So
yes,
what you
I
just said, like
agree.
if they wanted to get to a certain school, so then they would put the steps that they think that they would need to do to accomplish that. So for instance, I'd probably do some research on that school and find out what are the ACT, what are the grade point averages that are needed for that school.
Okay. So the requirements to get into that school, those might need to be posted on the
Yes.
on the board.
Those are what I would call, those would be the steps. And then I also went a step further where I give the visions a birth date.
Okay.
So if you want to say that this is what I want to do you want to do it this year or do you want to do it in 20 years?
Right.
So it needs a birth date.
Okay. A birth date. I like that. Not a deadline, but a birth date.
Because we're birthing these dreams into reality.
Right. Deadline. That's not a good word either. But okay, birth date. I like that.
And then your next step is to sustain and maintain.
Okay.
So you
and how
set-
do they do that? So let's say, for example, I have the requirements. And is this just any old kind of board, by the way? Is this like a cardboard? What do you mean exactly? Do I get a poster board?
You could get a
And just
poster board.
Okay.
You could even, I actually had someone that I did a workshop for them. She wanted us to do fillers for the planner. That would be nice possibly if it was just for her, but this was going to be other people in the party that might have had the same planner.
Right.
So you can do it on a variety of different mediums.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, a variety of different mediums. But what were you saying about?
I was just asking, so for example, we kind of have established it could be on any kind of background, maybe a calendar, maybe a poster board or cardboard, what have you. But okay, so after I would put maybe the steps of what the requirements are for that particular school, what would be an example of another action step that I would put on there? Would it be something like a college tour? What kind of things would I put on there?
That would be another step of like a college tour. It could be contacting the admissions.
Okay.
So those are different types of steps that you could do as well. And in some instances, it might mean that some people, depending on what they find out, as far as what the requirements are for maybe like an ACT, or maybe it was they also needed an SAT. So maybe they need to take another test to get into that particular school.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Well, we're quickly coming to a close, and we're going to run to a break really quickly. Now, again, for those of you that are just tuning in, make sure that you stay tuned because I have Angie Hodges here, who is my mompreneur / author / extraordinaire. And then for those of you who haven't seen the show before, just a reminder that the show Encouraging Words was inspired by a book that I wrote some time ago. It's called Free Money for College, and I'll tell you more about the book at the end of this episode. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in to the Encouraging Word Show. I am your host, Jamila Freelain. And for those of you who may have just tuned in, let me tell you, I've got a special treat for you today. I have with me today the extraordinary Angie Hodges, who is an author, who is a mompreneur. She's got it going on. Now, let me tell you, if you're just watching for the first time, the Encouraging Word Show is really done with a purpose in mind. Well, several purposes. So the objective of the show is to inspire students and parents and celebrate education, also to provide college and career preparation tips, and last but not least is to give you insight and tips on college debt reduction and providing greater financial literacy as well. Now, for today's guest, we have someone who is truly inspiring. She's just recently co-authored a book called Live Your Best Life, and she is one of the authors of 2 chapters in this book. Now, the first chapter, I believe, is Move Forward and Don't Look Back.
Yes.
Powerful title. Tell me a little bit about the writing for that, the writing process for that, as well as what inspired that and what it's about.
The process, it was really exciting. I've kept journals for many years and just piled them away, just keeping those journals. So when I decided to become a part of this project, it was like, go back and start looking at those journals. And I realized I had a gold mine.
Yeah, I believe it. Wow. And you had been journaling for years, right?
Yes, since I was a teenager.
Wow. That's therapeutic, too, from what I understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so that's how I mean, with the project, we were given deadlines. Well, come up with your chapter and the name of it, and something about that title, "Move Forward and Don't Look Back," because that was where I was in my life at the time period that I was writing about. Is I had to make a choice, and many of us will encounter a time in our lives where we might have to make a choice to move on. Maybe it might be a case where we might not be ready to move on or not really want to, but it comes to a place where that's what we need to do in order to get to the next level. Absolutely. And that's where I was. And just to give people that encouragement, just to go ahead and move forward. And sometimes we're wondering what the steps will be. We think we have to know all of the steps, but sometimes just that first step forward is really all that we need.
Right.
And we have to empower our children, our students, to be able to make those type of decisions too. Because in order for them to be successful in college and to move on into their careers, they're going to have to take a step forward sometimes. And sometimes there may be a place of fear, but they're going to still have to have the courage to move forward.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely true. Definitely. So you were at a point where you were at a crossroads.
Yes.
And then based upon that particular position in your particular life and your circumstance, you were able to find the inspiration for writing that particular chapter. Okay. Did you care to read maybe a paragraph or so from the book or from that section, or?
Yeah, you know what? I want to read a quote on Shine Bright.
Okay. And Shine Bright, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that aren't familiar, that's the second chapter that she's written in the book.
And this is just one to keep you motivated, because sometimes in whatever it is that we're dealing with in our personal circumstances, we forget to shine. And it was just an encouragement, just shine bright. And it says, "You are a light, and when you shine bright." And that's by Mary Lou. "Unlike the weather outside, you choose how brightly you shine every day. Are you dreary and dismal? Do you have patches of light? Or do you turn it up and shine bright like the high sun on a clear day?" Every day is a blessing and an opportunity for you to be your highest self and live your best life. The world needs you and your contribution. Yes, you.
Wow, that really brought encouragement to the Encouraging Word Show today. That was strong. That was powerful, really. You said a mouthful with that. My goodness.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's just that sometimes, even on those days when it feels like it's kind of dreary outside, we have a choice in how we present ourselves to the world. And just to make that decision to get up and shine.
Now, were you going through something when you wrote that as well, and just kind of came to the realization that, regardless of what I'm going through, if I failed that test or if I got a teacher that doesn't like me this semester, whatever it is, I'm going to shine bright. I'm going to do my best regardless. So that's how I would relate it to a student. How about for you? What went behind that Shine Bright story or that chapter?
I had encountered a lot of women that, unfortunately, and I won't say just women, but that's primarily who I encounter, that unfortunately when they left their marriages, they became bitter. Okay. And I said I had a decision to make. I could choose to become bitter, or I could choose to become better. And that's what that shining bright, that means on some of those days when you don't feel, it's about just bringing it.
Yes.
Even when you don't feel like it.
Yes. Bring your A game, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I thank you for sharing that. And again, for those of you that aren't familiar with the title that we mentioned, if you're just now kind of tuning in and kind of scrolling through, the name of the book is Live Your Best Life. And the co-author of the book that I have with me today is Miss Angie Hodges. Okay. And then one other thing, I know you talked about this a little earlier in the first segment. Can you tell those that are maybe just tuning in to the second half a little bit about your audio?
Yes. Now, this isn't a read of the book. This this on its own is just a motivational CD for you to pop into your car, just to.
That's really cool.
Because sometimes in the car we're in and out, or sometimes you're on a long ride. So just each of the authors in the book is giving their words of wisdom and sharing those with the audience.
Okay, so each author in the book is actually on one of the tracks on here, or how do I think of it? Okay.
Yes, we're on one of the tracks.
Great.
And this project is headed up by Ruben West, who's awesome. He's been my trainer and coach, and just an amazing person.
We were blessed not too long ago. He was actually one of our call-in guests, and he blew everything out.
Yes, I know he does.
He's so strong and powerful. I tell you, it was a real treat just to listen to him. So I can't wait when he comes to Charlotte. Shout out to Ruben, because definitely we want to have you on the Encouraging Word Show, because he's full of encouragement. Great.
Yes, amazing.
Great. Now you've got some other projects in the works. I know you've got do you have a vision board party coming up?
Oh yes, quite a few of them.
Okay.
Yes,
and they're open to the public, or are these like private parties? How do these work out?
Right now, the ones that I'm doing right now, these are private.
Okay.
And I just put together thinking that a lot of times as women, I was thinking people are getting together doing the same old things.
Mm-hmm.
Going out to eat, going to the movies, maybe wherever, just kind of doing the same old thing. And I thought, why not create an experience that would be fun, engaging, and some way for people to have a more meaningful connection.
Okay.
And so I do pop-up vision board parties.
Okay.
Get your girlfriends together.
And they don't know? Is it like a...
not that way.
Okay.
Not that way. But yes, it's something where I have arranged with the homeowner or hostess, or we can do it at a venue or facility at a church.
Okay.
And basically get your snacks, your girlfriends together, and some beverages, and I come over and I host a workshop.
Okay.
So it's fun, it's engaging, and there is the synergy that takes place when you have people and they're dreaming and they're thinking about their lives on a higher level.
Yes.
I tell people that the parties last from 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, I could see that.
It has lasted beyond that, depending on just how it is.
The group and who's there.
Yes, but it's a fun time. I bring all the supplies. I put together an invite, and we just get together. And of course, I give them some motivational words and conduct an activity, a fun and engaging activity.
Like an icebreaker type of thing? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
You said it. That's exactly right, an icebreaker. So yeah, it's a fun time. And now it has expanded that I also do, like I said, the mixed group. I do couples, teens, and then also corporate team building events.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And I can see where, a company might have a strategic vision. Maybe they're working on some new initiative or some new campaign or launching some new products. I can see how that could be beneficial, not just for students who are maybe aiming for their career path or their college of their choice, but in every way, shape, or form. We all have goals that we're looking to achieve. We all have a destination that we're bound for, and this is one way to really help ensure that we accomplish that goal. So great. Now, before we taper off with that, tell me a little bit about a new project that you have coming up. There's a broadcast that you're going to be on really soon, right? Is that on Friday of this week?
This Friday, yes.
Oh, wow.
This is going to be an exciting week for me. I'm on this show on Thursday, and then on Friday, it is one-on-one with Damien. I can't remember his last name, but it is a popular Christian broadcast that takes place in Atlanta.
Wow.
And I filmed that in this summer.
That was this summer, because we were in Atlanta at the same time.
Yes, we were in Atlanta at the same time, but we couldn't connect.
Right.
But yes, it was wonderful. We were interviewed on the show, and then we each got to do our own individual trainings. And this was all of the authors that was in the book. So it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, that sounds incredible.
Yes, it really
was.
So,
spoiler alert. Is there anything you can tell us just so we can really get ready for the show on Friday?
It was just, just like with this, just an engaging experience, great positive people. We actually were there at the studio all day.
Wow.
And it was just an amazing experience from top to bottom. Did a tour. They've had Creflo Dollar on there. They've had
on the same day?
Oh, no. He wasn't there the same day. That would have been lovely. No, he wasn't there the same day.
Okay.
But they've interviewed so many different people. It is not just a national show. It's an international show.
Wonderful.
So just to be on there was a great honor and experience. So I'm excited. The broadcast, you can you can connect with me on my Facebook and on my Instagram, and basically the channels that it'll be on, because it's some cable channels that I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
Because they're out of Atlanta. But yes, you can find that information out.
Okay. And how do we find you on social media? What's that information again? Is it under Angie Hodges or Live Your Best Life if we were looking for you on Facebook or Instagram?
On Facebook, you can find me under Be Fabulous, and it's just the letter B in Fabulous 001.
Okay. What's the 001?
That's because just Be Fabulous was taken. And then on Instagram, you can find me as B, just the letter B, Fabulous01.
Okay. Be Fabulous 01 and Be Fabulous 001.
And also you can find me on Facebook at Angie Hodges.
Okay. All right. None other.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you again. Before we wrap up completely, just want to talk about, just kind of recap and talk about how you could approach a vision board if somebody's not blessed to live in this area and have you come. So to start off, at least to do a preliminary maybe vision board to get started until they can have someone like you to come to them. You would start off with basically a board. You would have some of your goals in mind, be it a college that you're looking at going to. Maybe it's a certain GPA that you have in mind. Maybe it's a certain career path that you want to go into. So for example, if it's a certain career path, maybe you look at the colleges and universities that have that major as a specialty and that are ranked as the top schools for that particular field. If there's a certain school that you want to go to and you know that you've got to get your grades on point because you've looked at the requirements for the school and maybe you're not just there, one of the, as Angie mentioned, I guess our word for the day or our vocabulary words for the day are action steps. So some of the action steps you could take are to, again, look at what the requirements are and then figure out how you're going to make it to that. So for example, you might determine if you're only studying, let's say 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, then you might up it to 15 hours a week or what have you, so that way you can enhance the knowledge that you're gaining from your classes and perform better on tests and achieve that GPA that you're looking to achieve. If it's someone who is maybe looking to maybe accomplish another goal that's academic related, maybe it's getting into grad school and they're trying to get a certain score on maybe the GMAT or the LSAT or something like that. Kind of the same principles apply. You're going to look at what scores that you need to attain in order to enter those schools that you're thinking of, and give me an example of maybe an action step that someone could put towards that if they're going to even maybe grad school.
Basically, it would be some of the same steps, some like you just said about the testing that would be involved. Mm-hmm. Also, one of the things that is definitely a factor is cost. Mm-hmm. Are they at an employer that does
like tuition reimbursement?
Something we talk about in the book. Yes. So those are all types of things to consider. And then there's a different pool of scholarships, which I'm sure you know about, mm-hmm. different pools of scholarships Absolutely. That are available for mm-hmm. people that are going to graduate school.
Right. And for those of you that don't know, I actually recently did a show where we featured, the first half of the show was on the topic of scholarships, just to kind of give you some understanding or distinguishing different types of scholarships that are out there and a little bit about how they work. But before you actually even get to the point of applying for scholarships, get this book. You can start as early as middle school to begin planning your college and career path. And let me tell you, you don't have to even apply for as many scholarships and kind of cram on the back end if you plan and you start early and use some of the resources that we talk about in this book. Now, we're just about out of time, but before we leave out, again, I just want to give you an opportunity to say again, Miss Be Fabulous, where they can find you on Instagram, Facebook, and what was the other, Twitter? No.
That's Be Fabulous 001 on Facebook. That's Be and Fabulous 001. And then Be Fabulous 01 on Instagram. And I want you to remember to be fabulous and create the life you love.
I love that. Thank you for ending with that. And again, we appreciate you watching for today. We definitely were encouraged by everything that you had to share with us. And be sure to stay tuned for the next broadcast or the next episode of the Encouraging Word Show. I want to thank you again. I'm Jamila Freelain, your host, signing off.